Hey guys, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be talking about a Subto deal that I'm working right now. I'm going to go through the whole whiteboard and how we found it, how much we're going to make off of it. But make sure you watch all the way to the end because I'm going to show you exactly how you can find deals just like this and do the same thing that I'm doing. Stick with me. I don't want to waste too much of your time, so let's jump right into this deal, okay? So this is a Subto deal. Starting from the very beginning, where did the deal come from? Okay, so this deal was basically assigned to me from a wholesaler. I have a friend, he found the deal, he negotiated the deal, and he wanted to make a quick assignment fee, so he decided to basically assign that contract over to us, right? So here's my friend, Mr. Wholesaler, okay? And he decided to assign this contract to me for $15,000. All right. Now, him and I agreed that we would give him $10,000 at closing, and he would take the other $5,000 of his assignment fee over time, which basically allows me to pay his assignment fee with the cash flow that's coming in from the property and allow my renters to essentially pay my debt. Not a bad deal, right? All right. So next, that's where the deal came from. Mr. Wholesaler assigned it over to me. Let's talk about the mortgage, okay? So there's a mortgage in place on this property, and essentially what I'm doing is I'm coming in and I'm just going to continue making the payments for the seller. The mortgage is going to stay in his name, but the deed is going to go into my name. So I'm going to own it, but I was able to purchase it without using any of my own cash, credentials, credit, W-2, no banks, no loans, no applications, or anything like that. So I get to take over a mortgage that has a balance of approximately $185K. So we got mortgage balance here, okay? Now, the interest rate on this mortgage is only 4%. So that's some pretty cheap debt, much cheaper compared to what I would be able to get nowadays if I went out and, walked into Bank of America, Citibank, or wherever else and decided to apply for a mortgage, right? Nowadays, I'm probably going to get somewhere around 6.5%, if I'm lucky, 7, maybe even 7.5%, okay? So we have a beautiful interest rate of 4%. And my monthly payment on this house, right? My PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, is $1,625. Okay? So we got PITI. $1,625. Okay? So those are the numbers on this house. Now, this house is a one-story ranch. It's solid brick construction. The roof is in pretty fantastic condition. The windows are fairly new. It's in a nice, quiet neighborhood. It's got a beautiful yard. The house is solid, right? It's a little dated on the inside, so we're going to have to put a little bit of money to bring this thing back to life, right? So what am I going to do for that renovation cost? Along with the assignment fee that's going to be paid to my wholesaler friend and the small amount of money that we're going to pay to the seller to basically walk away from the property. Now, I'm going to bring in a private money lender, or in this instance, a private money partner who's going to partner with me on this deal. They're going to bring the cash to closing. I got the deal. I'm bringing them in, right? And essentially, they're paying for some cash flow, okay? So we have private money partner here, who's bringing the money to closing. Now, like I said, we're going to renovate this property. We are going to, just basically bring it back to life. It's a little dated, but like I said, the house is pretty solid. So essentially to renovate this thing, do some flooring, paint, some very minor cosmetic stuff, update the kitchen and the 1.5 bathroom a little bit. We're going to spend approximately $20,000 to make that happen, right? To bring that to life, okay? So we got rental here for approximately $20K to bring that thing back to life, all right? Now, that renovation is only going to take us probably about 3 weeks. They're telling me a little bit less, but no disrespect to you contractors out there. You can usually add a little bit of time. They're probably not going to stay on their timeline, right? So let's say it's going to take us about 3 weeks to get that renovation done, right? Bring it back to life and get a renter in there, okay? So at this point, we are all in for $20K on the rental. We are in for $10K on the assignment. We're paying the seller at closing $5,000 to walk away from the property. Now, the overall amount of money that he's going to get paid is $10,000, but he was willing to take $5,000 at closing and another $5,000 over time. So basically the same way that we split that up with my buddy who's getting his assignment fee with a portion up front and the rest over time, again, I'm going to be able to basically pay that amount of money from the cash flow that's coming from the property. So I'm still not taking that out of my own pockets, okay? So there's $5K going to the seller at closing. Okay? So right now, we're all in at about $35K. And we're also going to cover closing costs. There's no agents involved, so there's no commissions here. But basically, we're all in for closing cost for about another $5,000. Closing, $5K, right? So basically, all in, $40K cash to close. And like I said, that money is coming from my private money partner. So like I said before, I'm basically bringing the deal to the table. I'm bringing a private money partner in, and I'm going to get into this property with no money out of pocket, right? So now, what are we going to do with the property? How are we going to cash flow, right? So let's wipe this out a little bit. Give ourselves some space. I don't have the biggest whiteboard, but we make do with what we got, right? So now, like I said before, our monthly PITI is $1,625. Right? One of the beautiful things with this property is that we have some options, right? So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. What's worst case scenario? That we rent this thing as a long-term rental, okay? So now, if we were to rent this as a long-term rental and basically just update it, keep it as is, as a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath with a finished basement, we'll be able to get about $2,800 a month for this property, okay? So we got long-term rental, $2,800 a month, okay? So now, if we subtract our PITI from our long-term rental rate, that gives us a gross cash flow of $1,175 a month. All right. But don't forget, from that amount of money, we got to take out approximately 20% for vacancy, CapEx, right? We got to build that war chest for the future when we have to replace a toilet, when we have to fix the roof, when the garage door opener, kicks the bucket or whatever it may be, right? We got to put some money aside on that rainy day fund. So from $1,175, right, we're going to take out 20% for CapEx and vacancy, right? So that's $235 a month that we are putting aside for CapEx and vacancy, right? So now that will leave us with $940 a month net cash flow. Okay. Now, me and my partner, who brought the money to the table, right? The 40K that we need to get into this deal, we're going to split that 50-50. We're partners right down the middle, right? So if we divide that by 2, right? What do we got there? $470 a month for each of us. Okay? Now, let's talk about cash on cash return. Okay? Let's talk about how we calculate that, right? What is cash on cash return? How we calculate that, and how we figure out if this is a good deal for my private money partner or not. Essentially, when you're figuring out your cash on cash return, you're taking your net cash flow for the year, you're dividing that by what you pay to get into the deal, right? Your initial investment. And basically, the answer that it gives you is going to be your cash on cash return. Essentially, that's telling you how many years it's going to take you to recoup your initial investment, okay? So if we take $470, right? And we multiply that by 12 to get our yearly net cash flow, that gives us $5,640 yearly net, okay? Now, like I said, we're going to divide that by 40,000, which was his entry fee. That gives us a cash on cash return of 14.1%, right? Now, if you do any sort of investing, even if you have a bank account, if you have a checking account, if you have a savings account, if you know anything about interest and getting a rate of return on your money, you'll know that 14.1% is much higher than you're going to get on most of the investments that you're going to get out there, okay? You're going to get little to nothing on your savings accounts. You're going to get bull crap on your CDs or whatever it may be. Essentially, you're getting less interest than what inflation is every year. And so, basically your money is losing value, right? So that's a solid investment for my private money partner, okay? Now, remember, this was worst case scenario. We have some great options for this particular property, okay? So now let's talk about what some of these other options look like, okay? Let's get this out of our way, all right? We'll leave this up there, right? So now, one of the things that we found out while we were taking a look at this property and doing the walkthrough and all of those things, the seller mentioned to my friend that there's a property right next door, the next door neighbors, that they have a group home. And this group home is for adults with special needs. They live in the property and they have some staff members from the organization that runs it that rotate in and out and stay with them and provide services and transport them, and they have jobs and all of these awesome things, right? It allows them to have a really solid living situation where they're semi-independent, but they also get the resources that they need. So I'm telling my friend, I said, hey man, if they're right next door, that's who our client's going to be. That's who we need to rent to, right? So I said, let's go knock on the door right now. Went and knocked on the door. We're in communications with the organization that runs that particular group home, right? And so they're really interested in coming in and renting that. So we're in the process of negotiating that with them. But basically right now what we're looking at is that if we were to rent it to the group home, right next door, if they wanted to get into our property as well, we're going to be able to basically rent that for about $1,500 more per month, right? Right? So we're looking about $4,300 a month, okay? So now, let's run those same calculations that we did with the long-term rental, okay? Now, we subtract the monthly PITI from what we would bring in from the group home, right? So that leaves us with $26 $1,675 gross every single month. Right? Don't forget, like I said before, from that amount, we need to take out 20% for CapEx and vacancy. Okay? So now, if we multiply that by 0.2, give me a second. 2675 times 0.2, right? 535, right? So we're putting aside $535 a month for our war chest, all right? Subtract that. That gives us a net monthly cash flow of $2,140 a month. Now, just like before, me and my partner, we're going to split that 50-50, right? So that leaves us each with $1,070 a month. Now, if we take that amount, right, and we run the same exact calculation to figure out what the cash on cash return is at that amount, right? So we take 1,070, we multiply that by 12, right? That gives us $12,840. All right, so that gives us our yearly net cash flow. So now, just like we did before, we divide that by the initial investment, which was $40,000. That gives us a cash on cash return of 32.1%. 14.1 sounded good. 32.1% sounds fantastic. Does it not? Now, that's the home run. That's the grand slam. If we can pull that in a month, that'll be an ideal situation. But once again, it's great to have options. And we actually have another option on this particular property, which will be fantastic. Just one thing I wanted to touch on when we're talking about the differences as far as like management, right? The amount of work it's going to take us to maintain this thing on a monthly basis. Like I said, the house is in really solid condition. As a long-term rental, there's not going to be a whole lot of maintenance that we're going to need to maintain this property. But as a group home, we'll be able to rent that to them on a master lease, which basically leaves it very hands-off for us. We'll be able to get a substantial down payment up front, which would be much more than the down payment you would get for something like a long-term rental. And it's basically hands-off for us. We don't have to handle anything with the property unless it was something major, right? If you don't know what a master lease is, definitely look that up as well. If you want me to make a video at some point about master leases, about any of these things, cash on cash return, leave me a comment down below, and I can put some videos together and some content for you guys and help you out and provide whatever value I can for you guys on that as well. All right. So let's talk about that other option, right, that we're considering if the grand slam doesn't work, right? Worst case scenario, we can make this thing work fantastically with a long-term rental, right? We have the grand slam over here as a group home. And now the other option that we have that we're considering is to basically sell the house on a lease option, okay? Now, if you don't know what a lease option is, again, leave me a comment below. If you want me to make a video on what a lease option is, I can definitely do that for you guys. But really quickly, basically a lease option is a contract for a specified period of time that basically says, I will sell you my house if you can go and get financing within this option period, right? And an option period can be 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, whatever you negotiate. I will sell you my house at a specified price within this option period if you choose to do so. One of the beauties of a lease option is that you're able to get an option fee up front, which is non-refundable, right? And typically that option fee can be anywhere from $7, $10, $15,000, depending on the property, depending on the state, and some different factors. But you're able to get a good chunk of money up front, which will help you recoup some of that entry fee, okay? So if we're talking about a lease option, right? Another one of the benefits of renting on a lease option, or essentially selling a house on a lease option, is that you're able to charge somewhere around, typically about 20% higher than market rate rents, okay? So if I'm able to do a long-term rental at approximately $2,800 a month, that means that I can charge a bit more on a lease option. 20% higher basically means that I can go up to about $3,360, right, on a lease option, okay? Now, doing the same calculations we did before, subtracting the 1625, right, that gives us a gross monthly cash flow of $1,735 gross. Okay, now again we have to subtract 20% for capex and vacancy, right, which leaves us with $347 a month that we are putting aside for our war chest. Okay, now if we subtract that from our gross monthly cash flow, that gives us with a monthly net of $1,388. All right, now split that up in half between myself and my partner. That leaves us each with $694 a month of cash flow. All right, let's do the same calculations. Let's figure out what the cash on cash return is, right? So 694 times 12 to give us our yearly net. We got $8,328, okay? We divide that by the entry fee, which was $40,000, and that gives us a cash on cash return of 20.8%. Again, really solid cash on cash return, much better than the long-term rental, right? Not as good as the super grand slam of renting to the group home next door, right, at 32.1%, but really good options here, okay? One of the things that I really like about lease options is, like I said, you're able to recoup some of your entry fee up front with that option fee. You're able to cash flow at a higher rate by being able to charge rents that are higher than what the market calls for. And you're still maintaining ownership of the property during that option period. And, studies show, time has shown that the majority of people that sign a lease option, they typically don't exercise that option and go and actually purchase the home. So basically at the end of that option period, whether it's 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months, if they don't exercise that option, they don't get their option fee back. Like I said, that's non-refundable, okay? So I get to keep that amount of money in my pocket between me and my partner. And then basically we can turn around and do the same thing. We can sell it again on a lease option, okay? We can turn it into a long-term rental. We can take advantage of whatever different exit strategy is out there that's available that we could potentially maximize our cash flow as much as possible at that time, okay? So that's the whiteboard on this particular property. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. I hope I was able to provide some sort of value to you on how you kind of break down these deals and figure out, what the numbers look like and how they work and where some of these deals come from. as I promised, before we go, if you want to get into deals just like this, okay? www.subtobuyer.com. I have created an inbound funnel, right? A portal where wholesalers from all around the country, they can submit their Subto deals just like these that they're finding on a daily basis into subtobuyer.com. Okay, and that does a couple things. Number one, that gives me a fantastic deal flow of Subto deals all over the country. And number two, it's going to allow you to get on my buyers list, and we can assign some of these deals to you as well. So if you want to get into some deals just like this, right? If you want to get into some Subto deals all over the country, wherever it is that you're, whatever markets it is that you're working in, make sure you go to www.subtobuyer.com, click on the link to be added to my buyers list, okay? And secondly, if you are a private money lender, if you're looking to lend on deals just like this, if you're looking to enjoy some of those great rate of returns, just like my partner is going to be doing on this particular deal, go on there, www.subtobuyer.com, right? And make sure you click on the link to be added to my PML/PMP private money partner list, right? You and I, let's do some deals just like this, right? And maybe if it's not me, maybe we can get you on some deals just like this with somebody else, another investor that's looking to do some awesome deals just like this. Guys, I appreciate you. Like I said, hopefully this was helpful. I ask if it was, if you could just please like, share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a ton more content coming out, right? Be sure to follow me on Instagram. Go find me on Facebook, right? Let's be friends. Let's communicate. Let's talk. And like I said, www.subtobuyer.com. I'll talk to you guys later.